my one thing. If I was on my deathbed going, I didn't do this thing or something like that, the regret of not having done it. And the regret of not having done it seems way stronger than the regret of having done something.
Hello, and welcome to Working Your Way, the podcast where we explore authenticity at work and talk about what it really takes to help you succeed in your career more sustainably by doing it your way. I'm your host, Sandhya Sudhakar, and today we are continuing our series all about Enneagram Types. Now, in my work, one thing that I have been super passionate about is making the Enneagram more inclusive, and that starts with typing. Going beyond the books and into people's layered identities and their lived experiences. Now, in this series, we are going to be having nuanced conversations about the Enneagram types, not the stereotypical fits in a box way that types are often talked about, but actually really expanding our understanding of the types through real life, real-time exploration of them. In each episode, I will be exploring a different type with my guest, narrowing down their type and giving them time to reflect and process on their own. And we'll come back together for a second conversation where we unpack how their type shows up uniquely for them. The Enneagram is a tool that can be incredibly insightful. It helps us understand our patterns, our coping mechanisms, and our superpowers by recognizing those unconscious motivations that are often working behind the scenes of how we show up day to day. This series is for anyone who is curious about their type or wants a better understanding of themselves or someone in their life, or just loves to explore what makes people do what they do. Now, before we get into this conversation with my guest, I want to share a little disclaimer. The conversation that we start with in this episode is not a comprehensive typing interview. Think of it as sort of a typing light, more of a sorting conversation with someone who I've already begun exploring type with outside of this conversation. In today's episode, I am welcoming my friend and producer of this podcast, Hayden Lyon. Hayden has been on Working Your Way before, as he interviewed me about Working Your Way for our 50th episode. Why I started the podcast, how I've created a process that's authentic to me, and all the fun behind the scenes information. This time, I got to turn the tables back and interview Hayden. Now, in this episode, we explore 3 different types: the type 1, the type 5, and the type 7. And there's always nuance here. Hayden is someone who's done a lot of different things in his life, being a rebel in a punk band, riding his motorcycle across the European continent, becoming an expert on podcasting and starting a business on it. And this is a topic that we dig into, which was fun. Now, as I've mentioned before, the Enneagram is all about the why behind our behaviors. Hayden is curious, introspective, and really went there with me in this interview to question his own actions and motives and articulate his experience in a way that we can understand it alongside him. I might even use the word precise. I'm excited to share this exploratory journey with you, and I think it'll be both intellectually stimulating and pretty entertaining for you. So a huge thanks to Hayden for being so open to the process and sharing his story with me and all of us. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Hey, welcome Hayden to Working Your Way.
Hello there. How are you?
Good. It's your second time on the show, potentially third.
Yes, you're right. Yes, it is. Always fun. Always a blast.
Yes. Well, the last time you were interviewing me, and this time, clearly, I will be interviewing you. So,
See, this is the way around I prefer it. It's, number one, it's less thinking. And number 2, I get to talk about myself, and no one minds because that's what I'm here for. It's great.
That's great. And we'll check in on that at the end to see if you still feel so happy about talking about yourself.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't wait.
Well, would you please take a second to just introduce yourself
Sure. My name is Hayden Lyon. I am British. I'm from a small place called Shropshire, which no one's ever heard of, and there's no real cause to have heard of it. It is the birthplace of industry. You're all welcome, and it's the birthplace of Charles Darwin. Some people are, you're welcome to some people. Sorry to others. And let's see what else. Oh no, this is Shropshire. I'm talking about myself, aren't I? Yes. I don't know. I run a podcast production and strategy company called Nova, and we have some fantastic podcasts. We have Working Your Way as well. So, no, I'm joking.
Wow.
It's fantastic. It's one of the fantastic ones. Let's see what else. That's about it. I don't necessarily enjoy long walks on the beach, and yes, that's about it. What would you like to know?
Okay, great. Client retention is a top priority for you, I can see.
Yeah, treat them mean, keep them keen. That's how it works with clients, right?
Toxic. Okay, I'm already starting to evaluate you based on this short conversation that we've had so far. So today we are going to be talking about you, as you said, and exploring your Enneagram type. And so with that, I am going to be asking you a bunch of questions, and I might probe on some things. But as you may or may not be familiar with, Enneagram is really kind of nature and nurture. There's lots of layers to this framework, but in the theory of the Enneagram, you are born with an Enneagram type, and it stays the same for your entire life. And so we're looking for the patterns that have kind of been there for a long time. And so there may be some moments where I'll prompt you about, like, is this who you are today? Is this who you are in the past? Have you changed? That kind of stuff. And I'm just like putting all the inputs into my little brain, and we'll talk about it at the end.
Can't wait.
Okay. So let's just start off with a banger here. Why don't you give me 3 to 5 words that you would use to describe yourself?
I would always, and I always would have described myself as naturally very calm or carefree. Or carefree is probably the wrong word, but yeah, calm through everything, very, very difficult to phase, I would say. So that would be one. Another would be, that's tricky. I like to see how things work and do them very well, if that makes sense. So not necessarily following the rules. In fact, I'm not a very big fan of following the rules. So I think there's probably some words in there. But yeah, meticulous, I think would be in there as well. I think meticulous, calm. I'm kind of naturally introverted, but I do like talking to people. I very much like interacting, but I can only do it for around 2 hours, then take a week off, and then, so I would say introverted, though. I'd be happy just, by myself for a very, very long time. I'd be absolutely happy.
If I were to ask the people in your life that know you very, very well, what are a couple of words that they would use?
I think they might mistakenly say hardworking.
And why would that be a mistake?
The reason I say mistaken is because I think my style of working is like find out the best, quote unquote, most optimal way of doing things, and then do that. So it's like less work, but more, not necessarily preparation, but that type of thing. I mean, to go on a macro level, people go, oh, he's built up this business. That's a lot of work. And it is a lot of work, but it's also like on a micro basis, when you look at that, like it's Tuesday, and I mean, 11 a.m. today, I was just at the shop eating a sandwich. You know what I mean? And I've kind of almost designed it that way. So yeah, probably mistakenly hardworking. They might also say adventurous. And now historically, there's reason for that. I've been to like 100 countries or so and done ridiculous motorcycle journeys, around 43 of them. That was every country in mainland Europe. Lovely stuff. And you can point to any of those things and you go, adventurous. And I would say yes, but also I'm 36 now, and I've got 2 kids, and I'm significantly less adventurous, and also probably more conservative, not necessarily politically, but like in my actions when it comes to like business and stuff like that. I'm less adventurous when it comes to that. It's like, oh, hey, let's do all this big thing. I might do that occasionally, but really on a day to day, I just want everything running smoothly, man. I'm just looking for a smooth life. That's it.
Yeah. Walking your kids to school and, picking up some fresh milk from the cow down the street.
That's the one. That's the one. Shropshire, born and raised. So I think another word for that would be kind of nature something. And I'm like that with everything, like, I don't know, I make my own dishwasher tablets, that type of thing. And it's not no conspiracy stuff. I'm not against fluoride. It's not that type of thing, but it's more nature, man. Grow your own potatoes, because why not? And if you can't grow your own potatoes, you're living in the wrong place. That's what I feel. Anyway.
What motivated you to make your own dishwashing soap, or what motivates you to grow your own potatoes, or, have a vegetable garden one day?
There are probably a few aspects to it, but one of them is I feel like and I've always gone on about this, but the prescription that we're given as humans, I think, is A, limited, B, metropolitan focused, and C, not in our own interests. And that does sound quite conspiracy-esque, but I think everyone would just agree with that, right? It's like the best thing for dishwasher tablets or food or anything is not what you're being told to eat, etc. And so for me, it's kind of like maybe defiance, potentially. It's like, this is not the best way to, and I don't want to accept. I don't want to accept being told to do these things and then doing them. I have a very, very hard time with that kind of authority over me by someone that doesn't have my best interests at heart. You know what I mean? And like that is also a big thing, to a fault. That's like anything kind of authority based. Maybe that's why I have my own company. But anything authority based, I just cannot deal with, especially if I think they're in the wrong. Like, that's the worst. I cannot deal with that at all. If I'm like, oh, I've got to do that thing, and then someone goes, hey, could you do that thing? I'm like, well, that's something I'm definitely not going to do now. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I think defiance is a great word for it. I was going to ask you, like, do you feel a little anti-authoritarian or rebellious in any of those words that you kind of identify most with? Yeah,
I'd say so. And I used to live like that, like a lot more like that. I've lived in a van for a bit. I lived in an ashram for a long time, and it's just getting outside of the prescription was always, or the script rather, was my big thing, because I think that's everyone's thing in their teens and 20s. But getting outside of the script, because it was just like, this is not right.
And I seem to recall that you also had different colored hair and wore leather jackets in a punk band. Is that correct? Am I
well, I've been in many punk bands, but no, this one was an 80s era, a glam metal band. Think Motley Crue, Skid Row, that type of thing. And yeah, we basically lived an entire Motley Crue 10 years of their career within 1 year, and somehow, or I think all survived thereabouts. But yeah, there was one side white, one side black, long hair, leather jackets, makeup. And that was also like the purpose of looking that way, and like, wearing big women's cowboy boots and like as much makeup and lipstick as you can, was to go out into town and I guess kind of show and prove, look, I'm different than you. And I know it annoys you, and I like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're getting into it now. Being different has always been a thing for me. You know that commonly held belief of like, everyone just kind of wants to fit in. Everyone wants to be part of a group and stuff like that. And of course, you could say being part of a glam metal band is being part of a group, especially because there's a style attached to it. However, I've never felt that. Like in school, I've never been like, I need to fit in with my friends. I've always been the exact opposite of like, everyone's doing this, I want to do something completely different. And I think I want them to see that I'm doing something completely different too.
And what would you get out of that?
I guess I want to be seen as someone that is that is not preoccupied with what people think about them, and that inherently has value in my mind. Like, yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, our kind of family archetypal hero or heroes growing up were like Clint Eastwood is number one, or at least his characters. You know, like that is the epitome of, you know, masculinity and all that stuff. And, you know, my parents aren't weird. They're just 90s parents, you know? But it's like, you know, it's the Lone Ranger type of thing, isn't it? And I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Would you say like standing out felt like useful for you in some way?
I don't know about useful, but important, you know? Because, like, I don't think I would lean towards, I want to be different from everyone else and just go and live my quiet, different life without anyone else knowing that I'm living a different life back then. Now I don't care. But, although I say that. Anyway. So yeah, I think the being seen as being different had, I think, the same value as other people get from being seen as being the same. You know?
Yeah. And was there like a rejection of something in that? Like you kind of mentioned, like almost like, I don't know, having some pride in not wanting to be like everyone else, or like in a way not caring what people think, even though like it kind of was caring what people think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
did you think you were accomplishing the first?
Yeah, it's a classic thing of like, look, everyone, how much I don't care what people think, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I completely understand that.
Yeah, let's go back to this idea of meticulous. Like, how are you meticulous? Tell me about it. I might know some of this already, but I'll have you.
Well, I'm the classic cleaner where I'm like, you know, down loads of caffeine and just do the best clean you've ever seen in your life, but then kind of leave it for 3 months. You know, but then
isn't that just ADHD?
I think it is, but I don't think I have that. I think I'm much more on the autism spectrum for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so it also comes down to like stuff being done the right way. And so I've been a guitar player since I was 11, which is depressing. I should be significantly better than I am now. But yeah, and so I find it difficult to watch live music anymore because like someone does a cover of something and I go, well, that's not, that one note and that entire thing wasn't the right note. Like, why would you even bother uploading it if the one note is wrong? What are you doing? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, it needs to be absolutely 100% perfect type of thing. I don't know why, but that's definitely a thing. That kind of attention to detail, again, to a fault. I don't know. I feel like the things are kind of incomplete or not worth being done if they're not being done in that way, you know? But like, I don't know. I never get that thing. I've met some people where they would chase that kind of meticulous perfection, but it would take a million years to get there. And they end up, you know, I've never been like that. It never, you know, overcomes the task itself. But it's like, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. You know, my dad he's still alive, but he's just not one anymore. He was a painter and decorator, and he was the best in the county. You know, my brother was the second best. Now my dad's not doing it. My brother's the first best. You know, now I'm the second best, I guess. His reputation was he was the best. You know, there was no snagging. That's a tradesman term. There was no, like, it was always perfect, and that was his thing. And so that kind of, I guess that comes to me as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about how much of it, like, again, nature versus nurture, right? What was your default, you know, versus what was inherited, living in a household, right, with parents who were very strongly one way. Have you kept that throughout your life? Or are there times where you're like, I don't want to carry this like need for everything to be perfect or the best anymore?
No, I keep that with me. And it's like, it's not necessarily like having it perfect, although there is an aspect of it. But it's like I used to do ultra light traveling, half of a small backpack worth of stuff, and getting that to, well, how light can it go? Was a big thing, and it's like, and then I'd see people saying, look at this ultralight pack. And I'm like, oh, come on. I've got 5 kilos less than you, man. It's like completing it to the best that it can be done, that type of thing. I think I don't mind that being there. I think it's great. I think the only part of that I might want to not have is to not bring that into my kids as much, because I don't know. I don't necessarily, on the one hand, I don't necessarily think it's a good and healthy thing for kids, growing up like that. But on the other hand, I don't mind that I still have that and I don't want to change it. So it's like they're kind of conflicting views, but I hold them both.
I could see how maybe that plays out in your business too, right? Where it's like you're maybe doing less stuff, but you're doing it really, really well or to a high standard. Mm-hmm. Is that something that is more about your output in the world, or does that also apply internally in your brain, maybe of evaluating yourself and like how well you're doing things? Like, do you have that kind of narrative?
The latter. And I've never thought before as to whether that optimization, as to whether that's 100 or whether that's 0. Like if it were 0, then it's like, if you don't optimize to this level, you have fallen, below 0. Or whether it's 100, it's you've optimized to an amazing level. Well done. I don't know which of those it is. I've never thought about that before. But yeah, it's a me thing. It's an internal thing, most definitely. I mean, the benefits of kind of having it out in the world and doing the best job and all that other stuff is fine. But selfishly speaking, it is a me thing.
Yeah. And so you don't necessarily identify with the term like perfectionist, it sounds like, but optimization.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Optimization, yeah, definitely over perfectionist. Yeah, I can see the delineation between the two, and I agree.
And do you take pride in maybe being the best at something or like striving to be the best at something, or does it feel different?
It feels more kind of mechanical in a way. So it's like, it feels like a binary box tick. It's like, is this optimized to its fullest potential? Yes, no. If no, then optimize more. And it's like, I don't think there's any emotion involved with that.
Okay, well, great segue. You mentioned that you're like naturally calm, carefree, unfazed. Maybe you don't get like really stressed out. Tell me more about that.
I think it's just natural. I just can't convince myself to be fazed by things. And you know what? That is a word that people would describe me as optimistic. My friend says it all the time. Incredibly optimistic. And he says that it's my optimism that allows me to achieve. Because the sheer amount of optimism I have raises the ceiling of what I'm capable of, because I disregard the ceiling, I suppose. Yeah, so that optimism is just kind of always there. And I guess maybe the optimism is the catalyst towards the ability to not be fazed, because it's like, well, this is happening. Okay, cool. I don't know. I guess at least the other thing is happening. I can't do it. I can't be fazed by it. And you know what? My mom's the same. She doesn't stress about things. None of our family stress. My sister's the same. My brother's very much the same. He's got 8 kids and he's never stressed. So there must be something going on.
Right. Some genetics here.
Yeah. So, and I think it probably comes into that archetype as well.
How much of this is the cultural British, like, brush things under the rug? And how much of it do you think is real? Yeah. This is who you are. It's how you're built.
I don't know. It's hard to read the label when you're inside the box, right? But I would say it's been tested like quite a lot, and it's always held true. Like so many I've almost died 3 or 4 times. I've been abducted twice. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things happen. Yeah. I almost bled out in a tent in what are they called? Not the Himalayas, the ones in France. Whatever those are. Pyrenees. There we are.
Andorra, I was going to say, like, yeah, okay.
Near Andorra.
I was going to say somewhere around Andorra.
Yeah. Yeah, all these things happen, and it's just, there is an aspect of get on with it. That is definitely an aspect that comes in there. So there's like 2 different things. There's the first is like, I feel an inability to get stressed about that, because what's the point? And the second is just get on with it, because that is a big thing in the British working class. Just get on with it. I mean, what is it? Keep calm and carry on. In fact, growing up, there were 2 phrases. If you hurt your hand or something like that, then my mom would always say, you've got another one. You know, like, that was always the thing. But then if you hurt something that you've only got one of, she can't say that anymore. And so the phrase was, I've hurt my head or something. She'd go, you'll survive. That's what it was. And that carries through to everything. And I'm glad it does. I'm definitely a proponent of, come on, be all right.
Keep calm and carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you're talking about like optimism. And I think there's like versions of optimism where it's like positivity versus everything is figure outable. Like there's kind of 2 different ways to think about optimism. Like which camp do you live in?
It's a great question. Yeah. So my natural thought process, without me intervening, when anything happens is like, am I about to mention RoboCop for the 2nd time in this? It's like, I don't know whether you've seen RoboCop. It's fantastic, but he looks at something and all this data just kind of happens, right, like that, and it kind of feels like that. Like my brain assesses on a macro scale like the situation, and then immediately tries to find, okay, what's the best possible outcome? Okay, how do we get there? This is in like seconds. I don't think about this, and that's what we should do. So then after a couple of seconds, my brain's already thought of this is the best way to go now. And so if I've got the best way to go now, there's no point in stressing about it, because it's just, well, just get on with it then. You know what to do. Just do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, does that answer your question, I suppose?
Yeah. I mean, there's a calculation, right? You go through the options maybe and find the way forward, right? Versus like, like you kind of mentioned this before when we were talking about like optimizing. It's like, it's just quite mechanical, right?
Yeah.
Encounter a problem, input the data, here's the solution, keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so it's not like overly good vibes. I don't get an emotional optimism from you. I get like a very practical, pragmatic optimism from you.
Definitely. Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Yeah.
I think you would agree with this because you've mentioned it a couple times without using this word. Would you say you're generally an unemotional person?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's I felt a kind of kinship with Alex Honnold, the climber, right? Have you heard of Alex Honnold?
Possibly.
Okay. So he's a climber and he does free soloing, which is like climbing with no ropes, no nothing, right? He did El Capitan.
Oh, I saw that documentary. Yeah.
So Alex Honnold, he did a free solo of Taipei 101, I think.
Was that the skyscraper thing?
Yeah, giant. Yeah, like 500 meters. Anyway, so did that, got to the top, went, yeah. And then like his missus, his wife was waiting down a bit, and he went to, and she was like, yeah, you're here, you're alive there. He was like, yeah, that was good, that was, yeah. And he's just been on top of the world, literally. And he's just like, yeah, should we go now? Then I totally get that. Like, I don't know. My emotion doesn't really ascend to those heights, you know?
I want to switch gears just a little bit, and I'm really curious about, because like as I listen to you, as anyone who is listening to this would probably agree, it feels as though you have lived many lives. Like you've lived 20 lifetimes, right? Punk band, motorcycle around all of Europe, like all of these stories, right? Living in all these different places. Why do you think, or why do you know that you have like done so many different things?
It's a good question. And it's really interesting because that's something I say a lot. Like, I've lived many lives because it's the only way to really say it. Because people say, well, what are you like? What have you done? Man, I've been and done everything. And that kind of comes down to it, because it's like, maybe that comes from that feeling of like, after this, I think there's nothing. Because it's like, well, why wouldn't I try this? Why wouldn't I try that? Like, pretty much anything you can think of. Maybe it's a bit of a completionist thing, because I'm a completionist as well. I'm in the middle of Deep Space Nine when it comes to Star Trek, chronological order.
Thorough.
Yeah.
Meticulous.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, good point. There's also like, there's also an aspect of like, yeah, why not? Like in university times or before or after, someone would go, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yes. Why would I say no? If I'm going to die, maybe not, but also probably yes.
Yeah. Because it's not guaranteed you're going to die. You might as well do it. Right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay. That's interesting. And I'm curious, what do you get from having experienced those things?
I feel like there are doors and I'm opening them, looking inside and then coming back. And to me, it feels I need to open that door and have a look in. Otherwise, it's incomplete. And like, I will always wonder, what was behind that door, man? Why didn't I try that? So it's the pain of regret is, I guess, what I'm trying to avoid there. Yeah, my one thing, if I was on my deathbed going, I didn't do this thing or something like that, the regret of not having done it. And the regret of not having done it seems way stronger than the regret of having done something, So there's that. And then the other one, what do I get from having done that? I think if I were to probe a bit deeply, I would say that having all of these lives in the past makes me a more interesting person outwardly, which contributes to my being the odd one out and therefore special, I would say, potentially.
Yeah, being an interesting person.
Yeah. That is definitely a part of me. And I'm a bit of a show off. I'm quite like not narcissistic in any way, but it's like I do like talking about myself. It's my favorite topic. And I don't know why that is. I think it's because I think I like talking about myself because my past and my life are and have been interesting, because then they elicit like emotions from people that are like, oh, wow, that's cool. That type of thing. And I think I feed off that.
Is it a way to connect with people? Or do you just like to be provocative in a way?
Oh, yeah, that's there for sure. But I think if I were to be brutally honest, I would say that the connection isn't really there. I mean, it's not that it's not there, but it's like it's not number one on my...
It's not what's most important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not what's... Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then as you've done different things, like, sung in a band, become a podcaster, starting a company, how do you think about like learning, honing your craft, specializing in things? How important is that to you, or how do you see it?
I think it's like I get into the one thing, whatever that thing is, and then I optimize it in a few different ways. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do, music production. I produce some songs and records and stuff, other people's. And so now I need not necessarily the best equipment, but the right equipment. It doesn't have to be the most expensive, but it's like, well, what's the most optimized way I can do this? And then like getting the best quality through that optimized setup and stuff like that. And then it's like, that's kind of done then, like I've completed that task because I've done it in the most optimized way and it is now finished, even though it's not finished. And it's like, and then my mind moves on to the next one.
How important is like variety and options to you?
I think variety is necessary, but only on its own schedule. So it's like, if I had just this thing to focus on that I was interested in and wanted to do, And then the ideal would be to then follow my focus on like, this is the thing I'm now super interested in, then put my all into it. And now this is the thing I'm newly interested in and put my all into it. You know, that would be ideal for me. But having to do stuff that's not in that hyperfocus is difficult.
Yeah. And would you, or have you ever said that like you have issues kind of like completing things or following through on things?
Only in that circumstance that I was just outlining there, when it's like, you know, when it's bottom of the list of what I would prefer to be doing.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
But generally, like thorough and completion sounds like it's something that you
getting
value. You do.
Yeah. Getting stuff done, getting stuff. I mean, being on time with stuff is part of that being thorough, I would say.
Would you consider yourself an analytical person?
I would say so.
In what ways?
Well, I'm kind of analyzing every question that you are asking and like initially thinking, which way does she mean by that? Does she mean in this way or in that way or in that other way? And then I'm analyzing it even more and going, okay. And then if I think this is the answer that I want to give, but if I begin to talk about that, then that'll move us on to that. And that's kind of happening instantaneously. So yes, in that ways, and also like, yeah, just kind of everything really.
We've got an episode of Working Your Way about being an overthinker. Could recommend to you, you know, just saying.
I feel like I kind of identify with that. I mean, I don't think my overthinking is a burden, though. I would say it's a good thing. It's a thing that I enjoy having, that I analyze situations, people, circumstances, all of those things, because I think that gives me the ammunition's the wrong analogy. It gives me the kind of the ingredients I need to make the best, most informed decision.
How does it feel for you if you have to rely on other people for things?
Worried.
Say more.
If I have to rely on someone else for something, I want to give them the best. I want to give them the best quality instructions possible. That sometimes doesn't happen because I assume too much. I assume too much prior knowledge. I assume too much intuition, initiative. I assume that is all there. And I would like to say that I feel like I have quite a lot of initiative because of my analytical nature. And I think I assume that of other people, sometimes erroneously. And so yeah, sometimes my instructions aren't necessarily clear. In fact, I have seen that even with ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, what's this thing? And it's like, in what context? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. You know, so yeah, there's that. But then I feel worried because now the likelihood of that thing being optimized to the nth degree has lowered, I would say. You know, unless I meet someone that is as, you know, a fan of optimization.
Meticulous.
Meticulous as I am. And I have found those people and I love them. They're fantastic. Yeah.
And how about in life in general with resources and things like that? How do you feel about asking others for help, support?
Yeah. I don't think that's a thing that I would naturally go to. That's an upbringing thing. It's you'll be all right. Sort it out. And it's like, whatever it is, I feel like I've already analyzed the situation enough to find the way out, whatever it is. And so it's like, I just need to follow that. Why would I ask someone else for help or resource or anything like that? Because I know the way I have to go and I just need to sit down and do it. You know, I kind of feel like that. And I don't know, asking for help is not necessarily frowned upon in my family, but what is, what's the word? What is championed is your ability. Just ability in general is championed. You know, it's no surprise that my dad was the best painter in the county. It's no surprise that, you know, all of that type of stuff. Ability is championed over most things. Like if my sister got a new boyfriend, it was always like, you know, but, you know, can he change the rocker cover on a car? You know?
Right. The value of his character is how capable he is.
Exactly. Yeah. It could be the nicest bloke in the world. Wouldn't matter. Would not matter. Yeah.
How often do you think about being a good person?
Not often. I feel like I have kind of an inherent knowing that I am, and I feel like I've proven that to myself in the past, and it feels to me like that's a closed case. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
because at least in my head, because I am that, everything I do as it follows must therefore be in that vein. You know what I mean? And so it's like something I don't have to worry about anymore because I know I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a thought I don't have.
I came in thinking there is a potential that you are an Enneagram Type 1, which is something that we've kind of talked about. Now, the Type 1 is, it's called the reformer and sometimes called the perfectionist.
Reformer means something different in the UK right now.
Okay. Yes.
The far right political party.
Let's take the political definition off the table.
Yeah.
But somebody who is constantly reforming things, right? Very high standards for themselves and the world, and always see how things can be improved, which can lead to, however, a lot of rigidity, a lot of kind of black and white thinking. There's one right way to do things, and if you're not doing it this way, why? Why even bother, right?
Definitely resonate with that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And okay, and this is a type who carries a lot of burden on themselves. It's a very, if you want it done right, do it yourself kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of that in you. The other thing about the Type 1, though, is there is this kind of like constant inner evaluative voice. And I would refer to it as like the inner critic. Like, that's out of place. That's not right. That's, you're not doing that right. That person didn't do that right. They can be very critical. They can be very judgmental. Not like outwardly emotional expressed, but can be very frustrated and irritated when things are not being done the right way.
I identify less with that.
Yeah. And the other piece that I think you probably will not identify with is they're quite rule followers. There's a process. And a lot of times that is externally referenced from religion, from, education, from upbringing, from whatever. It's like, I've determined that this is the right way to be. Being a good person, being above reproach is like their core focus.
Interesting.
Now, after having this conversation, I'm in between two types.
Okay.
And this is where you're going to do some maybe exploration on your own. I'm in between the Type 5 and the Type 7.
Oh, interesting.
So
which one's the best one? Am I the best one? Check.
Sevens would say sevens, but and actually I think fives would say fives, to be honest. Okay. Not all types would say that their type is the best type, but I think those two actually might. Now, they're both head types, which means they take in the world through ideas and information. There's a lot of processing going on. Not to say the other types don't process a lot of information, but it's like that's like the core way that you experience the world.
What's the alternative?
And the alternative is heart types, experiencing things through connection, through relationship. Who am I in relation to other people? Belonging, core focus. Yeah, right. Not you.
I can see why you ruled out those ones. Yeah.
And then the body. So like somatic intelligence, instinct, agency and autonomy and freedom. Not to say that you wouldn't identify with things like agency and autonomy and freedom, but like it's like more of a visceral gut intelligence than an informational processing cerebral kind of way of being. So the Type 5 is, it's called the observer. Sometimes it's like called, it's more like analytical. I think about the Type 5, the way I describe it is like kind of the definition of an engineer. knowing all the parts and the pieces that make up the whole, knowing how all the pieces fit together, which parts function well, optimizing the system. So it's a systems thinker. They gather a lot of data, whether that's data, whether it's observing people, like figuring things out and being capable and competent in the world is like their core focus.
Interesting.
And so fives can be, they're very observant. They're very analytical. They like gather and gain and sometimes even hoard like knowledge. There's like almost an eccentricity to like how they specialize in things, how they collect information. And in a way, I was curious about this with you and your life experiences and how you maybe might use that to like figure the world out or, like gain knowledge that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, so that ultimately every Enneagram type is just try to be safe in the world, right? So fives do it through, I know more or like specialize in this thing. I am capable and competent in this area or multiple areas, and therefore I'm indispensable.
Interesting.
Now, there can be for sure a rebellious side or a defiant side. My brother is a type 5, and like in school, he was always the kid who people were like, you're not living up to your potential. But he didn't see why he had to do certain things. And so he like rebelled against it.
Yeah,
right.
Totally
It's like,
agree with that. Yeah.
I don't see the point. You didn't explain it to me.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm just not even going to engage.
Yeah, for sure.
And kids get that all the time, right? It's just like, just fall in line, do the thing, whatever. Like, I was the opposite of that. I'm like, you tell me what to do and I'll do it really well. You know?
That's so interesting.
So like,
yeah. No, I totally get that. And like, because I went to a grammar school. I don't know whether you have grammar schools, but it's kind of like,
yeah,
it's in the middle between a public and a whatever. But yeah, and so it was, imagine Hogwarts. That's it. So yeah, I was there and it was very much like, I don't know, they wanted us to be Victorian British children.
yeah.
And so, yeah, there was
Proper.
a big thing there. Yeah. At the end of the school, you could stay on for sixth form or you could not. And then they said, are you staying on? I was like, nah. And they were like, cool.
The other thing that's interesting about a 5, so they are very unemotional. They're very practical, very pragmatic. They tend to be very introverted. And part of that, the way that I see it is like when there's a lot of emotion, things that feel irrational or unfigure-outable, but confusing, like they will withdraw into a place where they know they have the knowledge, right? But when you're coming out here with all this stuff that doesn't make sense to me, like people can be very, irrational emotions are something that like really triggers a 5 because it's like, nope, I need to withdraw and be in my own space. They also just value privacy and their own space and self-sufficiency. And so it's like, I don't want to use other people's resources because like maybe they're going to need mine. There's almost a little bit of a scarcity mentality to a 5. But their way of existing in the world is by being capable and competent and knowing things, especially knowing things that other people don't know.
That's interesting. It's really interesting you say about unfigure-outable and then irrational. Those are, the two of the horsemen, I would say. Yeah, unfigure-outable is like, I'm going to ignore that and withdraw. Yeah, you're absolutely bang on with that. Yeah. If anything's unfigure-outable, it's like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. And then irrational, again, I want nothing to do with that. Because it's just, I'm the worst type of partner. Like, it's because it's a lot of things are irrational. A lot of emotions are irrational, or they may seem irrational, of course. And it's like
perception. It's your perception.
It's perception, yeah,
yes.
of course, yeah. And I'm that classic of like, you should just do this. I've already listen, love. I've analyzed the situation for you, right? in these last
Solving
few
the
sessions.
problem.
And here's what you should do.
It's not
I don't
what
know
women
why
want.
you're feeling sad about that, because here is the way out.
Exactly.
Just move on and go towards this. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, I'm going to tell you about the type 7, but first I'm just going to say, if you would like to eventually have a woman as a partner again in your life, you don't need to understand the emotions in order to validate them.
I know. See, I know that logically speaking. I know what I should do, but I can't help it. I know I should go,
Yeah, exactly.
there. I realize
You
that,
just
no, I
can't
shouldn't
bring
say that.
yourself.
Yeah, I just can't do it. Like, because it just end up coming out. I'll be like, I know it hurts, but have you considered? It would just come out.
Or like,
Yeah.
but if you saw it my way, it wouldn't even hurt. You wouldn't have a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
Anyway.
Yeah. And that's that also goes into the family stuff. Like, because my family are always like, if anyone has a problem or an issue or something like that, it's like, are you sorting it out or what? Like, that is the first question. So what are you doing to sort it out then? That's always what it is. And it's like, we'll help anyone also as long as they're helping themselves as well, and be cool, calm down,
Okay. So the type 7 is, as I mentioned, like the type 5 is like the observer, the analyst, right? Type 7s are the enthusiast. They are, call it like the epicures of life. And they experience the world through possibility, potential, ideas. They are like your brainstormers, right? Like both 5s and 7s can be visionary, but kind of in different ways, where 7s are like blue sky, give me no constraints. I just want to like live up here in the ideas. However, they're not the best at following through and finishing things. They can be quite scattered. They love variety. They love options. They'll jump from thing to thing. And so they love experience, the experience of life, and like also the variety of all of that. So I could see somebody who has done so many different things, right? Traveled to different places, like had different kind of like careers or professions or expertises, as like a 7 who is gets bored if they do one thing for too long. But 7s live in like, how do I feel fulfilled? How do I stay excited? How do I never like get bored or experience the mundane? Then they also avoid negativity, difficult feelings, sadness, darkness, all of that stuff. So I'm going to pause there. I'm curious what you think about that.
It's interesting. I definitely don't relate as much as the other. So I was, I can't remember what part you were saying, but it's like, the kind of all these different things in order to keep life entertaining and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the reason I do things is to have them be done. So it's like, I've got a big list of things to do. I need to put a lock on the shed. And it's like, that's not going to give me any joy or anything like that. I'm not even going to get it. It's like, it's back to that thing again. It's not going to raise my joy level or my entertainment or anything like that. It's going to bring me up to a 0. And it's like, the sad part is nothing's ever complete. There's always jobs. And so it follows that I'm always below 0, right? So it's like my mind is chasing this, everything is ticked off and checked off and everything is completed. But that never comes. That day never comes. Yeah. But I guess but I do get the each one of those is a mini, when the days list is done or something like that,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that completionist type of thing as opposed to the finding new things in order to, it's like when I was going around Europe, it took like a year and a half, something like that. And it was fun, but each and every day, regardless of the fun thing I was doing, it was like, right, where am I going tomorrow? I've got to go that direction because I know next I'm going to Luxembourg. And so I've got to go that direction. And it's like, I was finding it difficult to live in the moment because it was like, I've got to complete this, you know? There's probably a reason that I did a journey that is every country in mainland Europe. It's not some countries,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, even when I was living in an ashram, and it's like, and wake up every morning and, you know, go down to the Ganges and stuff, and then, you know, do all your meditation and whatnot. It was still like, right, I'm going to do this. And then a week later, we're going to do that thing. And it's like, chill. I mean, if there's any place you can chill, it's in the mountains with some, you know, they're not monks, but you know what I mean? But
yeah. No, I think the sevens can also, like, I think that they would mostly describe themselves as more emotional than what you are saying, even though it's mostly all positive emotions.
Yeah.
Like those highs, right? They live off of the like fuel of being excited and other people's excitement and new possibilities, right? There's this thing that I don't necessarily or didn't hear in kind of what you said.
Oh
and
yeah,
so
that is nothing
it.
like me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and again, it could just be because I'm British and like, you know, we don't do that.
Right.
Like there's this another tangent, but there's this comedian Scottish called Limmy, right? And he does this sketch about how Americanisms are taking over all of our words and stuff like that. You know, look, it's a pharmacy. It's supposed to be a chemist. You know. Anyway, so he does this speech and he like makes a stand. It's like, oh, and you know, our words back and stuff like this. And then one of the guys in the cafe that he's in goes, "Hooray!" And he goes, hey. Because it's like, no, that's not British. To go, "Hooray!" No. I mean, the way I've just done it, then it is. But yeah, we don't say woo. We don't go woo. No.
Not even when your team scores a goal.
That's different. Sports are different. You're allowed to when it comes to football.
Such a double standard.
No, I know. Yeah, you're allowed to. But even then, like if I go to a like I ever go to a football game, but if I do go to a football game, it's like the team scores, and the reason I go, yeah, it's because everyone else is doing it. But really, if it was just me, and if I went to it alone with no friends, I'd just be sitting there, and they'd score, and I'd go, he's put it in the bottom right there. I see why he's done that. Oh, because he's a left footer. Right, I get it, yeah. That's how I would enjoy that.
It's not an emotional expression of the excitement.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, you got it.
It's why I can't do live music anymore. Yeah. I'm watching him. I'm going, oh, D7. Okay, interesting. Oh, he's done a flam on the tom. You know, I'm just there like analyzing what they're doing and appreciating. It's like comedy, man. Yeah. Like maybe that's why British comedy is like it is. We don't have, or at least I don't like, the comedy that makes you go, that's amazing. I'm crying with laughter. You know, we have the comedy that they do the joke, they do the bit, and at the end you go, that was enjoyable. I appreciate what they did there. You know,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel out of those three types? Do you feel like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how certain do you feel that we have found your type and which one?
I'd say an 8. Not type 8. An 8 that it's the middle one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe as close to a 0 of the last one, and maybe a 2 on the first one. Yeah.
Okay, I like this. I am going to send you some information on the type 5 and the type 1 because I think it'll be interesting just to kind of like, you know, make sure that you're actually like thoroughly exploring that. And then we'll come back together and we'll talk about it.
I absolutely can't wait.
So for each of these discussions, I've helped my guest narrow down their type and I give them some homework, some reading and reflection questions usually. Part of this is so that we can have a deeper discussion about their type, and part of this is so that we can be sure that we actually have landed on the right type. Now, you just heard that we left Hayden with a type 5 and a type 1, with a leaning more toward the type 5. And I came into this conversation actually thinking Hayden might be a type 1, just from our previous conversations that we had had. Then I was in between a 5 and a 7 for him after our conversation. But as we closed out this discussion, he felt a lot more aligned with the 5 than the 1 and then the 7. So it felt okay to rule out the 7, and his homework really became discerning between the type 5 and the type 1 for himself. Now, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, you might have heard me ask some questions about the themes for all 3 of these different types. One thing that we explored was why he lives his life in this really exploratory and diversified ways. Lots of hobbies, specializations, areas of expertise. This was me considering if he's more of a 5, maybe someone who loves to be an expert and figure things out, or more of a 7, someone who just loves variety and moving from thing to thing. Now, I also asked about some of the other core motivations. For the type 5, it's about being capable and competent, about having things figured out, about being really well-resourced, especially in knowledge. And for the type 7, it's about being fulfilled, having options, having variety and possibility, as I mentioned before. For the type 1, the motivation is more focused on being a good person, doing things correctly, and really improving things. There was some of this and how he thinks about processing and optimizing things. And this is one of those areas that's really nuanced. Is it about developing expertise and figuring it out and being able to conquer the topic or activity because you know as much as you need to know? Or is it truly just optimizing or reforming a process and making it better and meeting a certain standard? We really were trying to discern between those two different ways that a 5 and a 1 might show up in a similar manner, but for different motivations. We also talked about how he operates, handles emotions, and the inner experience of his life. 5s are truly thinking types. One of the Enneagram schools say that they can ponder any proposition or idea and do not particularly care about its practical ramifications. 1s operate a lot more from their gut, their instinctual sensations. And these sensations tell them when something is right or wrong, or when to act or when to restrain themselves. Hayden seemed a lot less driven by instinct or impulse and more driven by a calm, rational, methodical way forward. Okay, that was a lot, but I like to let people into my brain and how I, as a practitioner, might be hearing what people tell me and analyzing it and clarifying it and figuring out which bucket it more likely fits into. So there's a lot more that we could discuss here, but let's get back to Hayden and see what he has to say after he's had a couple of weeks to reflect. In the second part of our conversation, we deep dive into the type where Hayden landed, and we begin to unpack it and what it really means for him. Welcome back, Hayden. I am excited to get into the different types with you. We can have a little bit of a conversation around what felt most resonant with you after our last talk and kind of unpack it a little bit. How are you feeling?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. I really enjoyed the last one, and I know I'm going to enjoy this one. It's going to be great. Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you kind of have some space to say, like, how did you feel about the last conversation? Have you had any major ahas? Yeah. So I feel like we really hit the nail on the head with type 5, right? Because I think you were going in thinking I was a different type. I can't remember which one, I think. Yeah. And yeah, there were a few things that tipped you off about type 5, which is interesting. And then we look into type 5 and, oh, wow, yeah, that's absolutely it. Yeah, for sure. And I was reading on it quite a lot. The first thing that I realized, or that I read, was that the examples of some of the people that you may or may not put into this, okay, what do you think the link is between some of these people, right? Einstein, Oliver Sacks, Stephen Hawking, Nietzsche, Dali, Sartre, Stephen King. Bill Gates, will ignore that one. Let's see. John Cage, Kurt Cobain, Tom York from Radiohead. It just gets worse. Alfred Hitchcock, Cronenberg, Kubrick, David Lynch, Jodie Foster, and Dr. Gregory House. There are a few links, but one jumps out to me, which is they are all very sad people.
Are they not going to go there?
They are, though, aren't they? Like Tom York from Radiohead. Come on.
I think that there may be. So my link is they are like all deeply intellectual. Like,
Right.
these are people who ponder life on a different level than the majority of humans that are out there.
I think you're right. And I've got to stop reading this list because it just gets worse. Yeah. Trent Reznor. Oh, gee. Oh, James Joyce. Oh, no. Sorry. Yes. I think
What's
you're right.
interesting about the musicians on that list specifically, right? Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, Tom York, Radiohead, Trent Reznor, right? Nine Inch Nails. These are all very angsty.
Yes.
Angsty and sad. There's a lot of loneliness in the music, but like there's an expression of that loneliness, which is like, I don't know. You know, it's like the creative inspiration is this like existentialism.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, and like existentialism is all over this as well. You know, you've got people like Eckhart Tolle on there as well. Emily Dickinson. Dr. Gregory House is an interesting one. It's like, I totally agree. You know, I don't know whether you've seen House, by the way. Have you seen House? TV show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Played by Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, I didn't know that was based off of a real
Englishman.
person.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's just
Oh, it's
like,
the character.
Yeah, the character is like that. Yeah. I don't know. I do see that. Yeah.
How do you feel about being associated with this list of humans?
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel surprised, right? Which kind of makes sense. There's no real like freedom fighters on there. There's no real people sticking up for social causes and stuff like that. Like, especially if you look into the music, like Cobain, Reznor, York, like it's all inwardly focused. Like Kurt Cobain was never like, you know, free this and free that. He was like, oh, this is how bad I feel, etc. And so I'm paraphrasing, of course. And so I'm not, Van Gogh, no. There's a lot of people taking their own lives in this list. Yes. Yeah, I think I'm not surprised, right? I'm not surprised that there seems to be a lot of creativity in it. And I don't want to read into that like someone does with like a star sign thing where they go, you're an incredibly creative person. And it's like, well, yeah, who doesn't think they're a creative person? But like there are kind of creative people that bring that to life here. There's a lot of composers rather than kind of musicians, I suppose, you know? So it's that kind of writing aspect of things. But and I think there definitely is a link to the type of thinking that we share and analysis and stuff like that. And then the kind of the incessant sadness that seems to plague this list. And I think I read somewhere else about it as well, where at worst rather, it can bring nihilism and isolation, which you mentioned as well, which is very much a thing. Like nihilism, I can go into it every now and then, but it's never been a thing. Eccentricity apparently is I don't see that as a bad thing.
So here's a thesis that I have about the Enneagram 5, and you can tell me if this feels like it connects to that. An Enneagram Type 5, like at the end of the day, every Enneagram type is using their behaviors or their coping mechanism to find safety in the world. Yeah. Different types perceive safety different ways, right? Whether that's through human connection, whether that's through resources, whether that's through like freedom or autonomy. Like for the Type 5, it is about being capable and competent. And with that also goes along with like, okay, knowledge, like gathering knowledge, specializing sometimes an eccentric specialty where if I am the only expert on this thing, or if I am the one who knows the most about this thing, like I am secure in the world. Like I will have the resources that I need indirectly through gathering all of this knowledge and understanding this thing that other people don't understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so an aversion to what everyone else is doing, an aversion to what everybody else knows about, an aversion to what everybody else understands can be like, there's no use in that for me. Maybe it's not rebelling just to be different, but it's like the utility of that is not apparent.
Yeah, That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Yeah, I like that. And it reminds me of, so this other thing that I read about it was fives feel, and this is something I don't think I agree with myself. Fives feel that they do not have an ability to do things as well as others. But rather than engage directly with activities that might bolster their confidence, five take a step back into their minds where they feel more capable, right? I think that is, this is going to be ironic, that is where I think I feel differently within this. So I've always felt the opposite of that. I was going to say that I'm a physical embodiment of the Dunning-Kruger, but I don't think so.
It's not a self-compliment.
No, not at all. No, I have all of the confidence and none of the experience. But more often than not, it kind of pays off and I'm kind of pretty good at the thing, whatever the thing may be. And this is a thing that's been throughout my childhood. It sounds, arrogant and stuff like that. But like, I feel like within this conversation, whether it's with you or with someone listening, we're at the point now where someone can detect that this is not arrogance. I'm just talking literally. So, God, I'm so type 5.
No
I can
one's
hear
going to
it.
judge you. It's okay. Yeah.
I can hear it. Yeah. So yeah, it's always been that way. Like when me and my brother were kids, it's like, I think I said this before, it's someone could say, oh, there's this new thing, when we'd be like, we're probably amazing at that thing, I'd imagine, and then we would be, and so I think it just got, what's the term where it gets confirmed? I think it just gets confirmed each time. And I think the times that we're not necessarily amazing get forgotten. It's the confirmation bias is probably what's happening there, I'd imagine. But I'd like to think that more often than not, I have great confidence that I can do whatever, it'd be fine. And then it's fine, But being 37, I'm now knowing more of my limits and I'm seeing more of that type of thing. It's like, scaling Everest or something. I think inside I feel, probably couldn't do that. Probably wouldn't be able to do that. And then I think my mind then goes, you know what? I am not interested in that. I mean, I would do it. I would, but I'm just not interested. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I don't know about that one.
Well, so for the listener, I think the Dunning-Kruger effect, so I'm going to explain this with actually reading what it is because I don't want to get it wrong. But like the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low ability in a specific area overestimate their competence, while experts tend to underestimate their own skills. So like the way I think about this, like with Enneagram for myself, I'm like, the more I learn about the types and how the types show up and the nuance of personality and all of these things, the more I realize and I believe that I don't know anything. And I'm far more of an expert than, I don't know, 99% of the world, maybe more than that, right?
Yeah.
The more we know, the more we realize we don't know. However, there is this an arrogance, like you said, and what you said of like being a novice at something and assuming that you're excellent at it. But I guess my question for you is really, do you have confidence in being able to figure it out? Or do you actually feel like you're an expert knowing nothing going in cold?
Yeah, no, it's definitely the former. It's, if it's whatever it is, I don't think, I'll go on there, I'll be the best player on the team, having never done it. Like, I never think that. But it's like I have the capability to be the best. Like, there's nothing in my path and nothing in my way that's going to not allow me to become the best at that. All it is me becoming the best at that thing or becoming amazing at that thing. I've never been involved with the best, but me becoming amazing at that thing is just an analysis away, And so it's like, it's fine.
That's like, see, that's a very type 5 thing to say. I can analyze it. I can figure it out and I can like put that into action and be excellent at something. Like that actually makes a lot of sense to me when we're talking about this personality type.
Yeah. That is exactly how I think, for sure. It's like, with anything, I don't know, with anything. If it's like graphic design, I've never done graphic design before. I'll be like, well, I can obviously do it because, give me 48 hours watching YouTube videos, give me a few tries, Yes, I can do that, It's fine.
Yeah. And mix that with the confidence of a young white British man.
I mean, there's nothing in my way. There's nothing in my way.
And then in the past, you may have been a little bit over the top about your ability to figure things out and become excellent at things. And now you are a little more balanced in that. So.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm not going to lie. It is nice not having anything systemic in my way. Although having said that, right, no, I'll leave that. That
was excellent. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I mean, listen, you need to know about it, right? I think the awareness is half the battle.
Of course, absolutely. And yeah, if that's something that I need to know and look into, then I'm going to look into it. And I'm going to be the best at looking into it. And I'm going to have looked into it better than most. So I'm so joking. But yeah.
So we talked a bit about figuring things out, analyzing things. We talked a bit about like the depth of thinking, the figuring out of things, right? With a list of our famous comrades there.
Yeah. Peace be on their souls. Yeah.
I'm curious if you had any like new awareness around resources and self-sufficiency, because this can be like quite a big theme for the Type 5 around almost like a hoarding of resources, which can even mean like your energy, right? Your social battery. Like, I don't have enough to give, so I'm going to conserve energy. There's much more sharing of the knowledge, but like when it comes to maybe like resources like time, money, energy, there can be a little bit more of that conservatism there. So I'm curious like how you feel about that, and in connection with that, being self-sufficient so that you're not necessarily sharing, but you're not asking from people either.
Yeah. I mean, that you asked a question last time about like when was the last time you asked someone for help or something like that, and I couldn't think of a time, and so that's probably something that would be beneficial, I would imagine. What's it like asking someone for help?
You're asking the wrong person.
I thought I was, yeah.
I suffer from a hyper-independence for a different reason.
Oh, okay, fun.
No, actually, it's quite nice when you get over your own BS to ask for help and someone shows up for you and they do it. It's actually like a pretty lovely human experience. You should try it. Interesting.
Okay, well, that's going to be something I'll try then. Yeah. And I want to I'm already analyzing the best way I can do that. I was going to see how I can like cognitively bias myself into it being a good thing, never mind.
Whatever it takes just to get like 2026 goals for Hayden Lyon. Ask one person for help this year.
It's difficult when I don't need help.
That was okay.
No, so joking. I'm half joking. I'm 25% joking with that. So
yeah.
I mean, when you're 10% joking, it's fine. So
after all of this, after this discussion, after your reflection, after our conversation last time, the purpose of working with the Enneagram, at least for me, is I can recognize some things in myself so that now I get to look at these things maybe objectively, which is not a challenge for you. You can look at them very objectively, not emotionally. But like I can look at them in a way that says, how is this helping me? How is this serving me? How is this maybe me overusing something that I relied on a lot and I don't need that anymore because now it's setting me back or holding me back from the things that I want. And so if we think about for you all of these kind of ideas that you may have found some clarity around in this exploration, what do you do with it? What do you personally do with it?
Yeah, me personally. So I feel relatively content with the vast majority of how I am. That's an epitaph, isn't it? I feel relatively content with the vast majority of how I am. Jesus.
At least there are like a little bit of qualifiers in there. So it wasn't I am good and I have no desire to grow or change. That was not what you said.
No,
it was like 75%.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel, I feel all right with the vast majority. But then when I think of like things that are lacking, right? So like the emotional closeness to others has always been lacking in my life, but I've never minded, right? However, right, I'm going to need a third way to say but in a second. However, when I have had that, it has been good, right? So I think it is something that I want, right? But in order to, I'm analyzing it, and in order to get that and have that and enjoy that and be good at that, and for it to be natural and stuff like that, there is this other aspect that needs to emerge. And I feel I don't know whether it's because I'm English or whether it's because I'm like this, but, or the neurodivergence that we were talking about, or all three, lovely. But I'm kind of, there is a block there. And I feel like a lot of English people, especially blokes, especially middle-aged blokes, will understand this. And I feel like a lot of autistic people will understand this. And I feel like a lot of type 5s will understand this, right? There's like a block on, it's so hard to put into words, but like there's an inability to open up and let your hair down and stuff. You'll never catch me dancing. Not ever. Can dance, great dancer, obviously. But you'll never see it happen, so you'll never know. And like, so like with my parents, for example, I can't remember ever me or my parents to each other, to one another, telling each other that we love one another, ever. And I'm fine with that, and they're fine with that. And do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, but it feels like there's this inability. Like it feels like if I say it, I'll explode. Something bad will happen. Something it just can't be done. It's like dancing. It can be done very well, but it's like it can't be done. There's a lock there, right? I feel like we're going too deep there. I think that's a different thing. But that being said, I feel like that aspect of life is going to be something that I want to go into, because I'm immediately thinking, because that will make me a more well-rounded person, which is obviously going to bring benefit, etc.
My question for you
is... No, not a question.
It's to think about, right? Okay. It's like, if I take that step over onto the other side of emotional intimacy, closeness, connection, vulnerability, what am I putting at risk?
Yes. Oh God, I wish I knew the answer. Nothing is the answer. The real answer is nothing. But I guess the next question... cognitive,
sensical answer is nothing. And
so maybe that is the answer. Maybe I don't even put a name to the answer to the question of what do I think is in the way? What do I think of all that stuff? Maybe I just don't even think about that and just analyze and logic my way into thinking this other way. So it's like...
I think you have two options. Okay. You explore what is the unconscious belief that you might be holding on to that says, if I go do that thing that I'm saying I want to do, I'm saying will benefit me in life, like what am I fearing, right? What am I putting at risk? Where does this make me less safe in the world? Unconsciously, right? Like from an existential standpoint. You can explore that belief, or you can just move. Right? You can just like you said, logic your way into convincing yourself that it's a good idea until you do it enough to gather some evidence that like you're okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way, isn't it? I think it's kind of a personal choice, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. For me, I mean, yeah.
The former requires some confrontation of things that might be difficult, scary. I don't know, right? Mm-hmm. But like fake it till you make it also can be like a very good strategy, and then enough to gather evidence to convince yourself, right, your body and your mind that like we're good, we can do this more.
Yeah, and that is a strategy I use for almost anything. So yeah. That makes sense. It feels like a superpower at that point. And I can just do that. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So it's been really good to kind of see all these things in one place. And I guess for me, what it is like when you see all these things and it's in one place and it's like this type and stuff like that, right? And you see it and it's like, okay, all of that I agree with, that it's bang on, right? It's I don't know whether you know or whether you can tell, I'm not an astrology guy, right? And so astrology, I believe, is very different to this, right?
Yes.
in one primary way, which I won't say. So yes, with this, I feel like you see all the stuff and you go, right, that is me. Again, not like Gemini, if anyone's wondering. And so when you have all that, and then it's like you see, right, the difficulties mostly seen in this, and you go, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. And then you go throughout all of that, then you've got so much kind of, not necessarily trust, but there's so much like confirmation throughout all of it that you get to the bit where you go, right, what can you do to then be better with this and this and this, and how can you do it? You go, now I have a framework that's like, I don't know, it's like not designed, but it's designed for my person. And I know it's my person because I've just read all of this stuff that is me. So it's like, if all of that is me, the odds that this thing is not also going to be for me are very low, you know? So that's why it's been extremely helpful for me. It's been very good. Yeah, very good indeed. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. And I appreciate, I don't know, like, I think naming the things that maybe like, personality type, archetype, whatever it is, like, can convince you are like not worth your time and energy, and seeing like, okay, there might be another way. Like, right, it is the intellectual curiosity, it's the open-mindedness, it's the, and obviously all of your candidness in like sharing about your life and all the other things. Like I value that a lot. I appreciate it.
Ah, good. Yes. Even though I, sometimes try to tell you that nicotine is the key to life. And you just got to get beyond and just get really addicted to it, and then it gets good.
Yeah. So, you know what? We'll unpack that another time.
Okay, fine. But,
For now, I accept you for all that you are. And
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. That's wonderful of you.
And listen, we're going to check in with you in like a year and see, like, let's talk about your emotional progress. I think that could be
great.
Fun.
That'd be really great, because I will be in for the first time in a very long time, not in a different geographical location, but I will be in a different place, which will be fantastic. Again, there's the optimism based on, I've figured it all out, how and why it will be fantastic, and it will be. Also,
I find it like very curious that you think like living in a different home would matter at all in your like emotional openness, but okay, it's fine.
No, it's, yeah. Yeah, I've been moving around the world. It's difficult, I tell you what that is. I can't feel right. I don't feel right in a city or anything like that. I can't. It's not real. Get it away. Can't do it. I don't feel grounded in any way. I need oak doors, not in a I need oak, but it's like, get the plastic away from me, man. I need trees.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we'll check in when you're amongst the dairy farms.
Oh yeah. Love it. Well, I really appreciate all of this. It's been fantastic, and I will keep you updated as to what happens.
That sounds amazing. Thank you for being on.
No worries. Anytime.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. You may have found yourself relating to a lot of this conversation, or maybe not relating to it at all. And if you did relate, I just want to reiterate that does not necessarily mean that you are that type. Humans are dynamic and complex, and there are many ways that Enneagram types come to life in each of us. Just know that we all have some shared experiences, and any awareness that we can build about ourselves is really great and beneficial to us as humans. And the Enneagram is still primarily about understanding the core motivations and the drivers beneath your behavior. Now, if you're interested in exploring this tool for yourself at work or in your organization or even in your personal life, just reach out to me to learn more. I really love to do this work with teams, especially where we sit down together and we customize the plan to align to specific business goals that you are pursuing and really help you map out how your team can thrive based on its unique makeup. Go to selfatwork.com and schedule a meeting with me. Now, if you're interested in doing some reflection on your own and exploring your type individually, you can also download my Enneagram Type self-reflection guide at the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this episode of Working Your Way, be sure to follow or subscribe so you'll always catch the latest. If you want to bring these kinds of conversations into your workplace, check out selfatwork.com to learn more about my team coaching, Enneagram workshops, keynote speaking, and other ways that we can work together. And to find detailed show notes, explore all the resources from all the episodes and all other things working your way, head to selfatwork.com/podcast. We'll see you next time.